All right then, I will get started now. This will be recorded, so if anyone is, sort of waiting on anyone to join in, they'll be able to find the recording of this as well. So, today's webinar will be on the sort of ways to use AI in Prospect, sort of general ways you can try and use it to save time, day-to-day use of the system. Quick introduction to anyone who's not familiar with me. I'm Xander. I'm a customer success manager here at Prospect. I'll be sort of walking through the features that use this, different AI features in the CRM, and sort of how we can best use them. Going to go through the different features in the CRM, use them in practice, and see sort of some of the limitations of them as well that, do exist. So there's, like a certain amount of times that we can use them, for example, that sort of thing. But we'll walk through all that, those fine details as we go. Sort of the day-to-day use of it. So there's a handful of things we can do at the moment. Mainly, there's the AI email generation. So if you've got sort of a sales rep doing the morning, sending a follow-up email rather than doing it by scratch, much like sort of Copilot or other email tools, we're able to click the send email button in the CRM and then have that generate a follow-up email. It can do this using the merge fields in the CRM, so much like a document template is able to pull things like the contact name, any of the information on the quote, any information from an opportunity, for example. It can pull that information into this email and send that out to the customer. Additionally, we have access to sentiment analysis in the CRM through the use of a different tool, which we'll also get into. So, looking at customer replies, it can summarize those as well as perform sentiment analysis. So it's going to give a summarization as well as an urgency score, whether something is medium or high priority, as well as the sort of sentiment. So it's going to be sort of neutral, happy, upset, that sort of thing. And we'll go through that as well in these examples. Feel free to make use of the Q&A. We'll go through that at the end, as well as if you've got any questions as we go, I'll address them all at the end. But we'll have a proper Q&A section once we get there. So we're going to go through a demo now. You may have had a sneak peek to this because I may have had it open at the start. But we're in a CRM demo profile, which is a jam selling company that we've used for these webinars in the past. And we're just going to go to a quote that we've got here for an example that we're going to do and send an email out from. So by clicking the send a communication tab here, to send an email out to the customer. So you may normally select, a quote template or just sort of type in this text box to speak to the customer. By clicking this AI assistant on the right-hand side here, we're able to open this new sort of prompt window where we can then, give it an example prompt to send an email to the customer. So we might say something like, write a follow up email and say something like include the net value and address the sender. If we click this generate content here, it's going to make its best go at doing that. So it's going to say, dear, the contact name here. So once I've get this out of the way, you can see that this is the name of the contact in the CRM. It's gone through and it's recapped the value of the quote. It said any questions to reach out to feel free to contact at support. You see it's made a mistake here. These things aren't flawless, sadly. So it's always good to proofread these and any inquiries you might have considering our services. So you can make any changes. You can hit insert content here, which will just add it straight in. Or we can get it to rephrase it, expand or shorten these sort of things at the top here. So if we just click insert content for a demo, it just puts that straight in here. And as we can see, it's addressed it straight to the contact on this test customer. So we could also take something like an existing quote template. So if we just go here and we select a basic email quote, it's just going to overwrite this with a standard quote email. So it's going to put in a product brochure. It's made a little quote table here that's sent and address the customer. We may want to rephrase this. So again, we can click the AI assistant. We can click rephrase. We could say, make this friendlier, for example, generate content there. That's going to redo this. Now, this has also changed the formatting. Obviously, it's not going to have kept the same information from the quote table. Well, it's kept the same information, not kept the same styling, sorry. And that's rephrased that. So it's used a lot more accented punctuation, for example, and it's tried to just be a bit more friendly to the customer. and put that same, but all the same information is still present. So an important things to note on this, there is a amount that you can use it here, this quota bar. This here says 11 out of 55,000 on this case. There is a quota that resets monthly, so that is I believe it's 1,000 generations per user. So if you've got a 10,000 user system, for example, a 10 user system, you'll get 10,000 emails per month, and that will reset. This feature is enabled by default, this AI assistant on the side of an email. You don't need to go turn anything on. It's not in preview or anything. You should be able to go and go into your CRM now and find this. Each of these features here, this write for me, rephrase, expand, or shorten, these will all count as a prompt. So these will all use one of the generation quota, for example. And as we've seen in some of our tests, these merge fields, they may not always get correctly populated. Um, I'm sure anyone who's used an AI assistant for anything really knows that they are at best sort of 60, 70% accurate. They can make mistakes here and there. So it's always good to double check these sorts of things. Don't want to be sending something out to a customer with a merge field, with some important information in that hasn't populated for whatever reason. Always worth to give it another check. So another feature that we can use with AIs, whilst we're on the topic of sending emails, is inline enhancement. So this is going to be, actively changing a smaller part of an email rather than rewriting the whole thing. You may want to rewrite a line. So what I'm going to take here is just this last bit. If you'd like any further information, please do not hesitate to contact our sales team. We can highlight this here, and if we click these little sort of sparkly icons on the top right here, this near where you may go to the HTML editing, and we can do this. We can get it to sort of proofreader section, make it more friendly or professional. And now again, this uses that same quota that we mentioned earlier. And by clicking these buttons, so if we just say friendly, we asked it to be friendly, but maybe it's not friendly enough. It goes again, it's slightly rephrased it, and we can sort of accept or decline. And if you click accept, it just pastes it straight in over the top of that previous section. So again, very little in terms of complexity with this feature. Highlight the amount of text that you'd like to change, select this button at the top, and it will go and do that. Again, just doing it in any way, so rephrasing or proofreading it, this is going to consume this generations quota. So just be aware of that. This is all the sort of email sending part of it, and then we've got the email reading part of it as well. So we're just going to go to a different email here that I had. Sort of here's one I made earlier, sort of thing, on the contact. If we go to their emails on their documents, we can see that we've got this quote email that's sent in here, and it's summarized it here. When you see this blue bar we've got, as you can see this sort of AI sort of symbol we've used to represent it, these sort of 3 stars. It's coming saying the customer appreciates the quote but finds it too expensive, requesting a price adjustment within their budget. So we can see the full email here. Obviously, in this case, just for this demo, it's not sort of an extensive email, but it's obviously able to read far more. And it's given us these little symbols on the right here. So it's given us this neutral face. You can mouse over it to get a definition of the mood, as well as this priority. So it's given this medium priority here, or urgency, I think we'll see it called elsewhere. And so that's sort of is a good breakdown of that. This feature does have to be enabled. So this add-on section will show on the right here if you've got it enabled. So we have it enabled here for the sentiment analysis. If you don't have it enabled, you can go to your settings and system settings, and it'll be under optional features, or you can just search sentiment in the top right, and then AI email sentiment analysis as a feature can be enabled. Once this is on, if we sort of head back to the company record or the contact record, we're able to filter by these sort of on the activity level, because obviously if these are emails we're saving into the CRM, we're going to get that activity showing on that contact or that company record. So we can go and we can filter by that. So we may want to show it to only where, high urgency levels, and not only where, in this case, is only neutral mood emails. But you can filter it to only show where this is the case. Importantly, this feature, the email sentiment analysis, is only used on incoming emails. So this is only for inbound stuff into the CRM. So this is either saved with Save to CRM, that sort of thing, or using our the BCC feature with the email inbox to save that in. So if you're sending emails to and from for the to and fro from a customer, you may get them to perform this sentiment analysis, have a quick summary, that sort of thing. Importantly, this does use a different quota than the others, as it uses a completely different element, rather than generating emails, it's sort of reading them. So by default into the CRM, there is a limit of 10 emails to be analyzed sort of per month. And then you can click this upgrade feature here, which will take you to a page to sort of look at the other options for plans to, have an additional amount of emails that you can analyze per month, which is an additional cost for that, as it's sort of a cost for us to call the OpenAI API to do that. These are the sort of main features within the CRM that we can do for using AI, and we'll sort of go through like a bit of an example of a workflow from in here, sort of what we can use this sort of end to end all together. So here we are now. So you could sort of open a quote, click send email, use the AI assistant to sort of generate, perhaps a more professional email. It's going to get the information such as, sort of contact name, quote value, anything else that you're, using in your day to day that's, part of these merge fields. You can review it, tweak it, and send this out to the customer. The customer's going to reply, and we can then save that in either using the Save to CRM or the auto forwarding. At which point, then once that's in the CRM, we can then sort of summarize that with the sentiment analysis. It's going to tell you, it's going to see if it's negative, if it's high priority, that sort of thing. In our example, it's going to say, they're requesting a discount, sort of thing. It may be, expressing concerns. If it's, especially an urgent thing, we can then, respond potentially through the CRM again using a similar thing, sort of draft a reply with the AI assistant, get, its perspective on it, and then go through and sort of rewrite that yourself to make sure you don't say anything that you don't wish to, don't want to say anything you can't follow up on. So just as sort of a reminder at the end, there are some limitations of this features as it stands, just in the case of, as any AI tool, it can produce incorrect information. It might be a wrong name, wrong data. So I would recommend sort of double checking everything before sending. Um, Using the right keywords to the prompters will sort of give it a better push in the right direction, rather than just saying, write an email, or write a reply saying, write a follow-up email for this quote, mentioning the, certain fields that you want. So let's say if we, in our example, we did the net value and the sender, but you may want to send a delivery date, that sort of thing. So prompting it in a manner that gives it, a push in the right direction, I think is a good way of putting it. Importantly, that for the email assistant and the inline enhancements, there is these token quotas, which are, moderately generous. I think having 1,000 prompts a month is, unlikely to run out in normal use, but certainly possible if you're, getting your money's worth out of it. And for the sentiment analysis, however, it is a lot more limited, and shared across the workspace, not per user. So it's 10, per workspace, sort of as it is in the CRM at the moment. If you enable that feature, it's very much sort of a demonstration of it, almost a free trial. So we'll need to be paid for the upgrade to that if you want to sort of get a more meaningful use out of it. Importantly, for rephrasing email templates, the styling is stripped. So if you want to, send a quote template from an email, you're gonna, want to re-put that into your styling, and make any changes, or maybe just rephrase the text using the AI inline enhancement rather than redoing the whole thing. Because otherwise, if you've spent a while getting your quote templates looking how you'd like, you don't want to have to lose that. But that's sort of our recommendations and our sort of reminders. Um, Next step, sort of what you can go from here. So I'd recommend giving it a go. I mean, the email assistant is in the CRM as it stands. It will be enabled automatically. You can go try and send an email, either to yourself or to a customer. Click the sort of three stars and create some AI assisted emails. This is a lot to have a play around with. See how it goes. Similarly, with the sentiment analysis, you can turn that on in the system settings and have a play around with that as well. The free trial will allow you to, save some example emails into the CRM and see how that goes. And then from that point onwards, obviously, you can sort of have it in a real scenario, incoming, emails from a customer and replying and that sort. There are some additional information on our help portal, on the email assistant and the sentiment analysis that you can find. So feel free to have a read of those if there's any information that you'd like, any further information that sort of hasn't been covered perhaps in this webinar. Um, so we've got some sort of time booked free now for a Q&A section. So if you've got any questions, feel free to chuck them in the Q&A area, and I'll do my best to go through and answer. So we've got one already. So when we reply from the CRM comes from the user email address, but we'd like it to come from one common email address, such as a sales at. Um, is it possible to do this when you set a template? You set the default sender address. So it's going to generally go from yeah, I don't believe you can set it to go come from one, unless, like you say, I'll have to take a look at that, tell you. I think that's a bit of a, you know, departure from the AI Q&A, but I'll happily take a look and see if that's a way. Let me jot that down, and I can just give me a second to jot that down. I'll happily try and get back to you with an email later today. Rick, how do we enable in settings? So I'll happily show you again. So if you go into pull up the CRM here, into system settings, you'll have to be obviously an admin user to turn this on. You go into system settings and you search for sentiment in the top right. There should be AI email sentiment analysis as a feature, which you can then turn on. That will enable the incoming emails to be analyzed, but any outgoing emails, sort of the AI assistant, is already on by default. So you can already use that in the CRM right now. Won't need to turn that on. Um, any plans to give more tools looking at data inside the CRM or aid with report writing, for example? So in a way, this is the case, although it's not quite inside the CRM. If you've been migrated to Access Evo, there is the ability to use Copilot through that to make any additional changes. So it can also help with report writing and that sort of thing. It's access to more data. I didn't go into that in this demonstration here because obviously not everyone has had that has other Access Group products, and so is not yet on Access Evo. But if that is the case, then you can do that. Regarding other plans, on our side moving forward, I'm not aware of any at the moment, but if there's any ideas you've got for that or something that you find would be super helpful, then I recommend logging that in our feedback portal. That way our product team can be aware of it and know that there's a demand for that sort of thing. Mentioned always forwarding for saving emails. Like that, people saving emails are a bit of a recurring issue. Yeah, so with that, I mean using the BCC sort of email address. I've got the CRM up here. So the system document email address. So this is a way to by putting this BCC email address in the obviously BCC part of an outgoing email, either through your Outlook or Gmail or whatever. This will automatically save it into the CRM if the contact it's associated with has if the email address associated with has a contact in the CRM. Um, I hope that's answered that question. Are there any plans to get AI modes in reports or give easy analysis? So as it stands, nothing to sort of summarize a report with an AI tool of some kind. But as there's clearly there's a couple of questions about this now. I'll happily feed this back and see if there's anything we can do on that moving forwards. But as it stands, I don't believe there are plans, in the short term to have any change to that outside of what's accessible through the Access Evo Copilot. When you hit the quota, does it turn off or charge more for the sentiment analysis? If you hit those 10, it was just going to turn off. It's not going to charge you anymore automatically. I'll have to sort of upgrade manually and go through that process willingly to get that. And then for the email generation, although it's quite, a generous thousand, in thousand, what's the word I'm looking for, generations per user, which is a sort of shared pool, which you're unlikely to hit. If you do happen to hit that, it's just going to not let you do any more for the rest of that month. Um, Ask it to merge from record. Does it matter what level you raise the email from? Be on quote level when you pull the email. So you don't need to be on quote level to use it as a feature. But if you were to sort of follow the regular CRM logic, so if you're sending an email on a company level, for example, it's not going to know which quote to pull that information from, if that makes sense. If you're sending it from quote level, it can view what's above it. So if it's under an opportunity or if it's under a contact and therefore a company, probably it's able to access all that information above it, but it can't look down, if that makes sense. So if you're sending an email from an opportunity, it's not going to know which quote under the opportunity to get data from, and so can't get anything from there. Um, so, obviously, if you're generally sending from quote level, anything above that, so company, contact, opportunity, it's able to get all of that data out, much like you can in the CRM now with those merge fields. Um, how can AI can draft replies to one customer email? Just sort of clicking the AI assistant. You could, draft a follow-up, draft a reply. You can prompt it that way, and have access to the information in the CRM to, do its best to reply to it. Or if you had copied the email out, let's say it's from your Outlook, for example, you could put that in and say, write a reply to the following email, that sort of thing. Is the email data passed into an AI engine for email generation? Is it used by the engine for further learning? I'm not aware of this, Angela, as a fact. I believe that from our use of it, we're simply calling their API to generate these emails for us. So I would imagine not, but I can't say as a fact that that isn't the case. That'll be down to OpenAI, who I believe we're using their API for. It may be in sort of their more information in their API docs to figure out the privacy on that sort of thing. I'm afraid I'm not aware of a concrete answer on that. Um, Copilot take emails from customer emails such as product quote codes and quantities, make them into a CSV and import it into the quote. Let's integrate something like this into CRM and add it to Outlook by help inputting. I see. Okay. So, but you take okay. So customer is emailing a request for certain products, and then you've got an AI agent who is reading that, making a CSV list, and importing it into the quote in the CRM. I don't believe there's a way or a plan at the moment, at least, to integrate something like that. If that were to be the case, I guess it would be similar to how we have the sentiment analysis now of reading an email and saying, the customer would like to buy XYZ, but instead of just saying that in a summary, actually looking and seeing if these are SKUs that exist in the CRM and then adding them to a quote. I could definitely see that being something that would be, plausible moving forwards. No plans for that at the moment. Again, sort of, if there's something you'd like to see, I'd recommend logging that in our feedback portal, and we can see if that's something we can add. It'll just really be the case of seeing what we can do with the AI APIs that are given to us. Regarding delivery addresses into the quote, I mean, I guess, yeah, a similar thing, case of just coming in from the email. Yeah, again, I see what you mean. It would be, yeah, convenient to have that pull through automatically rather than just having to sort of read it and type it in. With the case of using the sentiment analysis, we could have it that it, obviously would have that in the summary, most likely. It would be easier to sort of copy that out, but it's not going to populate that automatically, I'm afraid. Are we able to connect Outlook into Prospect so that all emails received into an inbox are automatically saved and scored for urgency? Not automatically, no. As it stands, you'd still have to use the Save to CRM add-in for someone to save in these emails. Um, if that was then done, with just someone clicking, those right emails that you want to save, not getting any spam or that sort of thing in, it would then score those for urgency using the sentiment analysis, as well as obviously perform that sentiment analysis, give that sort of um, happy, unhappy, that sort of thing, as well as grade those for urgency. But it's no way to perform that automatically at the moment, as in save them in automatically. Is there any way shared inbox emails can be automatically saved into the CRM and open a task to that team? Again, yeah, save to CRM needs to be done, as in performing that task through Outlook, just to make it. And it's not able at the moment to create any information in the CRM other than an email. So it's not the AI agents are not able to create a task, create a record, that sort of thing. Um, so it's not possible for it to currently create a task. I completely see the use case here, saving in emails from a public, or not public, sorry, but from a shared inbox for multiple users. You're wanting to split those to the right person inside the CRM. Um, Recommend, feeding that back. But as it stands, it's not something that is, a possibility in the CRM. Uh, can we use it to send multiple emails to different companies or customers, such as new products? As in for a sense of mass email marketing, not quite. I'd still recommend integrating with an email marketing system such as MailChimp or Klaviyo or Spotlight that we have. In fact, I believe our next webinar will be on that and sort of how to get the best use out of those systems. Um, it is definitely possible to use it to generate emails in the CRM to send out, but it wouldn't be a way to send it to, multiple customers at once. It's only able to generate or gather the information for that email the same way you would in the CRM with regular merge fields. So with, the company that may be above a contact record, it can get information from that, but it's not going to be able to get, other companies, other contacts, that sort of thing, to send out to sort of multiple customers. I've already logged it. Well, I'll feed that back in internally then. I'll see if we can see if that's a feature that we'll be able to take a look at. But I definitely see the use case for you guys. It may be just a case of figuring out how we can use these AI tools to do a little more as it stands outside of just summarizing emails, see if we can import that information. I do think that it may be quite a slippery slope if we start taking information from emails and directly creating anything really in the CRM from it. I think it could quite easily go wrong, especially with how AI can be. Any other questions as it stands? Just give it a minute or so for anyone else if they're typing anything up. Oh, okay. You're very welcome with the demo. Um, Happy to have done it. If anyone else has any questions, hopefully they're answered in our documents. Um, if not, feel free to drop us an email or ask the sort of Fin app inside the CRM, anything. So thank you very much for attending. We'll be putting this recorded version up on our more resources page. You can find the link to the registration page if you want to see any of the other topics covered and any explanations provided today. And you can also find any of our past webinars that we've done um, on workflows or anything else. Thank you very much for attending, and I hope everyone has a great rest of their day.